Many of you have heard us talk about Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth, the supplement that helps women maintain optimal hormone levels, with over 50,000 glowing reviews from women worldwide and 98% saying they recommend it to friends and family. Now you can take those results even further by pairing it with their prebiotic collagen protein, which helps restore gut lining integrity, promoting overall hormone levels. Now, I've struggled with occasional digestive issues, and since taking the prebiotic collagen protein, I've noticed a real lift in my energy and overall well-being. Happy Mammoth is dedicated to making women's lives easier. And that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. Right now, you can try prebiotic collagen protein and Hormone Harmony risk-free and get 15% off your entire first order with the code DATEABLE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off today.
Have you ever rooted for a central couple in a horror movie? Then you are going to love House of Rain by New York Times bestselling TikTok sensation Harley LaRue. Happy endings and horror can mix after all. It's a gothic sapphic romance meets supernatural suspense, equal parts sinfully spicy and bone chilly. Salem was supposed to be on her honeymoon. Instead, she's trapped at Belfour Manor with Rain, a woman hiding secrets as dark as the house itself. This book gets 4 out of 5 peppers for bringing the heat. If you're a fan of The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager or Verity by Colleen Hoover, this must-read thriller is for you. The book just sucks you in. I swear I even caught myself looking behind my shoulder once or twice because Harley LaRue builds this tension that just lingers. You can find House of Rain by Harley LaRue wherever books are sold in print and in ebook. The gorgeous deluxe hardcover first printing is only available for a limited time, so grab yours before they are gone.
Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome back to another episode of Dateable.
Oh my gosh, so much has happened. So much.
I feel like we've been gone for like weeks and weeks. We've kept the episodes running. I scheduled a ton of them in advance, which we don't typically do.
Why? Because Julie was on her honeymoon.
I was. And you were also traveling. Were you just like, well, you're going on your honeymoon. I might as well travel too.
I went on my own honeymoon with my family. Tell us, I know I've heard a little bit about Greece, but tell everybody about Greece and how magical it was.
It really is a magical place. And I mean, clearly it's like honeymoon central. Mm-hmm. What's funny about it is like, there were a couple times I tried to like slip in, it's like our honeymoon to see if like, I don't know, in like movies, they like make up the room with like rose petals and they like make a big deal about your honeymoon. So I was like, well, I'll just subtly drop it. Like, this is why we're here. And no one cared. And I think like we stayed at like nicer hotels too, because we're like, we want to splurge. And a lot of them just gave like welcome wine anyways. And I think they probably figure like everyone's there for something. Yeah. They're probably just inundated with honeymoons. Yeah. So I guess if you're looking for free shit on your honeymoon, don't go to Greece because it's like honeymoon capital. Go to like, I don't know, like Nashville or somewhere that's like not honeymoon capital.
Or just be different. Just be like, I'm here not on my honeymoon.
Yeah. They're like, let me decorate your room for you.
Just stand out.
But, also like from my photo, like it was just incredible. You had your Greece moment 2 years ago. Oh my God. Feels like last year, 2 years ago at this point. And I remember you were just like, okay, post breakup, it cured me. I went to Greece and one of my friends was like looking through like my photos and stuff. And she's like recently single and she's like, I think I need to do a Greece trip. I'm like, yes, I think you do. It heals all. I told her to reach out to you.
She definitely should. It heals all. I mean, it's a great place, obviously, to celebrate your love and your marriage. It's also a great place to celebrate yourself. It's just a good reason.
Just a great place, yeah. I think, what I loved the most, I mean, the food was amazing, first of all.
What was your favorite?
So good. Oh, it's hard to pick one thing.
The seafood.
We tried the seafood was incredible. I had the best octopus of my entire life. Mm-hmm. It was like in vinegar, but it just hit so good. Mm. And then I was obsessed with these cheese pies. Did you have those when you were there?
Cheese pies? I don't know.
So they were in Milos, which was one of the islands. It was called Milos cheese pie, but I think other ones had them too. But we didn't see them as prominently other places. But they were just, literally dough with cheese in them.
Stop. But not a cheesecake.
No, it was just like the right ratio. And it hit.
Oh.
So good. So good. I'm craving those. And yeah, I think what else was it? We had snails one night. Mm-hmm. We had sea urchin one night. Mm-hmm. I loved that dip. Oh my God. What is it? It's like tarma. Did you have that?
Oh, yes.
That stuff is delicious.
It's hard to get here in the States because I guess it's people don't eat it here.
It reminds me of chicken liver mousse. It's so decadent.
Yeah.
And they gave you way too much. And my husband, I'll call him that now. It's weird to say. Husband was like, I like this stuff, but not in the quantities that it's, it's I don't need a tub of it. And I'm like, just, bury me in this stuff. It's so good.
I will bathe in this.
It's this stuff is amazing. I'm like, if you're not going to eat it, I will. So yeah, I think food was amazing. We went to Milos, Sifnos, Santorini, and Athens. So we had a really good diversity of islands. I think our favorite was Milos. I told you this. The beaches there were just magnificent. We did a really fun boat tour. That was awesome. It just I love being in water, more than anything. And it was just we'd hit up 4 beaches a day. I'm this is heaven. And some beaches, we'd be the only ones there. And then others are tons of people. Mm-hmm. But we were semi-off season. So I'm glad we were there when we were, because I can't imagine it being busier than it was. It was a good amount.
Yeah. And the weather was good.
The weather was pretty good overall. It was definitely not super hot, but I can't do hot anymore. I just can't handle it. So for me, it was perfect. And I have I don't mind swimming and I don't know. I don't need the water to be super warm, but the ocean was actually pretty hot. Pools were a little cooler. I still did it, but there was a breaking point of how long I could be in there.
And then you had a room that had a private hot tub.
That was in Santorini, yeah.
Okay,
so Sifnos was a really, I'll touch on Sifnos and then I'll go to Santorini. Okay. So we did Milos for the longest time, 6 days. Mm-hmm. And that one, again, was our favorite. Sifnos was super cute. So we wanted to do, I guess, just to put in perspective, we wanted to do one of the super well-known places, the bucket list. You gotta go if you go to Greece, which is Santorini. It was Santorini or Mykonos, so we decided Santorini because we're not big partiers at this stage of our lives.
Yeah.
Then you gotta stop through Athens, although we did Athens a little too quickly. I think that was maybe one regret of the trip. I actually ended up really liking Athens more than I expected, but we really did it just so if we missed the flight from Santorini to Athens, we wouldn't be totally fucked on the way home. It was that's kind of what I was reading for international flights. So Athens was kind of a little, I wouldn't say it was a full-on destination, but we still enjoyed it and got a full day and 2 nights. So then we wanted to do Milos was kind of we're doing research. There is this beach. I can't pronounce the name of it. I feel Greek was really hard. I feel in Italy it was easy to say all the words and stuff.
I can't
Greek,
no.
Everyone speaks English too, so it's just it was hard. But we're we want to get into it, but it's just there's so many syllables.
So many. Everything's so long.
Yeah, it's not the easiest. So it's I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna butcher it. But they call it it's the moon beach, and it looks like you're on the moon. And it was one of the coolest experiences. I was afraid it wasn't gonna live up to the hype, and it exceeded it. And there's a place that you can cliff jump there, and it was just everyone's swimming and like sunbathing on these like rocks that look like the moon. It was so cool. So when we saw that for Milos, we were just like sold.
Yeah.
And then we read it was
going.
like the best beaches in all of like the Greek islands. So we're like, okay, we got to do that. And that it's kind of one of those ones that's up and coming, but it's not like Santorini that everyone knows about it, but it's like more well known. I guess thanks Instagram and TikTok. And then we want to do one that's more like low key, not as touristy, that people don't really know about. And that was Sifnos. And we're researching, first of all, it's really close to Milos, so it made it super easy. It was like a 40-minute ferry.
Oh, okay.
And I did not throw up on the ferry, so I'm very proud of myself. I saw all these horror stories of people just like in barf bags, like on the high-speed ferries. So I survived all of them.
Why? Because it's so like rocky?
I guess I took Dramamine and those like, you know, those wristbands.
On your wrist.
I did it all. So did that. And with Sifnos, they were the foodie island. So they were really well known for their food and hikes and beaches, of course, too. So we're like, this sounds great. This sounds like us.
So you too.
Yeah. So it was really cool that we did a hike there that was beautiful out to this like monastery. The food was really good. The only thing about Sifnos that was hard, there were a couple things. This is why it didn't make it to my favorite. And I actually thought it was going to be my favorite of all. I think part of it was the weather we got. It was just that leg of the trip.
Yeah.
So it would have been like if it was in Milos, if we were there like 2 days later, it would have been the same. So it's not really like a dig on Sifnos. It was just a little harder. And honestly, the weather wasn't even bad. It's just they can't deal with any rain. And I guess it didn't rain for like 7 months before this. So we just kind of got like a little bad luck there. And like one of the restaurants we were really looking forward to going to is like a tasting menu. And it was like €95, which is like pretty affordable for a tasting menu. It was supposed to be one of the best places. They canceled because they were all outdoors.
Oh my God.
And they canceled 2 nights. Like we had it booked because we were like, oh, let's try to change it to the night before. And they're like, yeah, we're closed. And then they're like, how about we do the next night? And we're like, yeah, we're leaving. Even a cooking class. We decided, okay, let's do a cooking class to like have an indoor activity. I misread when it was, so we went the wrong day. He had said like Wednesday. We showed up on Tuesday because I was like, oh yeah, tomorrow. And then he kept being like, no, Wednesday, but I wasn't reading it right. So we show up. And he's like, yeah, I had to cancel because of the rain. We're doing it tomorrow. I have you down. And we're like, yeah, we're leaving.
Oh,
so that was another bummer. And then we did do, though, at the same farm. It was I really love these types of experiences, too. It was like a father-son duo. And the father ran the cooking class. And then the son and his wife did the pottery class.
Cute.
And then their other son had a restaurant. So we actually ended up going to the restaurant because this other one canceled on us. So it worked out, and this place was really good because they actually had like indoors. So it worked in our favor. And we ended up doing the pottery class, and it was really fun. It was super cool to just hear like the history because they're also well known for their pottery. Should have mentioned that. It was like hiking, pottery, and food. And so that was super fun. My partner's really good at pottery.
What?
Yeah.
Did he know that?
So we did it one other time, and he was also good at it. I think because he's very focused and like methodical. And I'm just like, let's do everything. And I'm not good at it. So you have to be very diligent.
And patient.
Yes, he's good at
I can see him being good at it. Yeah.
Patience is not my virtue.
No, it's not.
I'm just like, let's do it. And it's like falls apart. Yeah.
And you're like, so I need to start over.
This is exact example, a metaphor of our relationship right here. Slow and steady wins the race sometimes.
I love it.
Yeah, but I think like that one was really cool. Just, I don't know, it was like a really quiet island, and the beaches were super nice. Like they were just like not super unique. Like they reminded me of like beaches in Hawaii, and again, beautiful, not saying anything against it. It's just like Milos, they were just so interesting. So it was like hard to come from that. I think if we had done it in reverse, we would have been like, oh my God, the beaches are amazing.
You can't compete with the moon. Like what beach can ever compete with the moon?
But I did like the culture, the vibe there. I think the one thing I would say though though, for anyone that is considering that is to maybe do that one actually on season, because it was almost like a little too quiet and like things had started closing down. So like while Milos and Santorini was a dream in off season because they're so busy, this one maybe could have like stood for a few more people. Like there was one town we went to, and granted it was also a little drizzly. There were more cats than humans. There's also an absurd amount of cats in Greece.
Yes, so many cats.
I was slightly terrified of the cats. Like at dinners when they're like hovering around you.
Yeah, because they're hungry.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my God, please leave.
But maybe in a few years, Sifnos would be like the Milos, you know,
it might
the
be.
up and coming.
It might be. But it was really quaint, and we enjoyed the time. Honestly, I would have actually liked one more day there because, of course, like the next day was sunny. But we went to Santorini for that, and the weather there was like phenomenal. And I actually... I like Santorini a lot more than I thought. Because there's a lot of mixed reviews on Santorini. People say it's very touristy, and it was. Don't get me wrong, it was. But there's something about the views there that are just absolutely breathtaking, and there's a reason why people go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible.
Off season was key there. That was a huge thing. I can't imagine being there in the peak. It'd be even worse than it was, but we stayed in Oya, which is like the main town. We did this Fira to Oya hike, which was like 6.5 miles. That was incredible. Also in peak season would be hot as fuck. So I'm glad we did it when we did it.
Yep. Exactly. And it's nice to stay there a few days so you get to experience it. Like most people go for like a day or two and then they're out. And of course, all you're experiencing is just the crowds.
Yeah. And we did a cooking class with a grandma.
Oh, good. You did
Airbnb
do a cooking
experiences.
Class.
Yeah. We ended up doing a really nice dinner. We did a tasting menu there. So we got it in. We changed things around a little.
Yeah.
It was really great. I love just being like in a private hot tub and just like, and again, like I think being off season, things were like a little less expensive than if you were to go peak time.
I mean, that's your dream, is to have a private bathtub.
Oh my God.
Or I mean, hot tub. You have a private bathtub, but a private hot tub overlooking something.
Yeah. It could have been like a little bigger. There was a time when the two of us were in there. We're like, okay, this is a little squishy.
Okay, but still.
It was still great. They brought like breakfast to your room. It was relaxing. Like I think that part of the trip was really nice that way.
Yeah. So you got a little adventure, a little relaxation, a little good food.
Yeah.
Good
history
adventure.
in Athens. I loved Athens. I wish I was there longer. Again, another place you hear such mixed on. Mm-hmm. But you loved it too.
But it just really depends on what you like. I think that's why it's so hard reading travel reviews, because if someone doesn't like history, or they don't like big cities, or they don't like crowds, and they don't like urban areas, they're not going to like Athens.
Right.
That's so subjective.
Yeah. Wow. I just gave like a very long debrief at the time.
But it's so good. We were transported to your honeymoon with you. It's so magical. Like, would you go back to Greece?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I might not go like in the coming years because there's so many places I want to go that I haven't been to, but I would recommend it in a heartbeat, and I would definitely go back if there was an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
So your honeymoon.
My honeymoon with my family. It was so romantic. My parents are in China for 2 months, and I knew I was going to meet up with them because I hadn't seen my extended family in 2 years. We didn't go back last year. So I went to China. I stopped over in Shanghai for the Shanghai Masters tennis tournament. It was my first tournament, and it was so fun. I'd never been to one before, but it was like fucking hot. It was 95 degrees, like 100% humidity, people fainting left and right.
Oh my God.
I was like, whoa, this is October and it's this weather. But it was awesome. People in China really love tennis. I didn't know. So the crowds were really energetic, and Shanghai is just a really international city. So you just saw a lot of interesting people in the crowds too. It was good people watching. And then I hopped over to Beijing, and I don't know why I was so excited about this. The flight to Beijing, from Shanghai to Beijing, is like 2 hours. And my flight was like $67. And I forget that anywhere but the US, they actually give you food on flights, like full-blown meals.
2-hour plane, though, that's like actually impressive. Because I did not get them on our connecting flights. We did not get meals.
From
Greece.
where to where?
Like Athens to Milos or Athens to Santorini. We did not get food.
How long were those flights, though?
They were under an hour.
Yeah, under an hour. Yeah,
but 2 hours to get food. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 2 hours. It was like a full-blown meal. It was so good. And I just remember thinking, like, even on flights to, from LA to New York, you're not going to get food.
You don't get anything. Yeah.
You get nothing on domestic flights. They're so terrible. So anyway, Beijing was wonderful. Saw my extended family, my 92-year-old grandma who's doing really well. And she has not lost any hair, and her hair is actually glowing. It's so healthy. And she claims she does these like acupressure exercises every day. She does 1,000 of each. And I'm like, Grandma, just counting to 1,000 is probably doing something for your brain already. So she was giving me all these like longevity tips. It was really funny. And then I saw my cousin, who I've talked about before. She's 26 and she's the cutest. But she was like kind of telling me, nobody in China wants to get married. Nobody wants to have kids. Everybody just wants to live their own life. And it's a really strange culture right now. Like the government is freaking out, and kindergartens are closing down because lack of kids.
That's crazy.
Isn't that so crazy? Like just in our old neighborhood alone, there were 5 kindergartens and 3 of them closed down.
Also, 5 feels a little obsessive, right?
Well, it's a lot of people. China's a lot of people.
That's true. That's true.
It used to be a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And now there's just not enough kids to fill any of that. And then I was so surprised, because I've told you about this, those like matchmaking parks still exist where parents go and hold up a sign that advertises their single kids. They still exist. I went to one and it was very depressing. It's just like really depressing what your parents choose to put on your sign. I don't know what your mom would put, but these people were putting stuff like, oh, she's 45, she's middle school graduate, she's mid-level intelligence.
Oh but my God.
But great at cooking.
That is so bizarre.
So bizarre. Another one I saw was she's in her 40s. She's not that tall, but she has a Beijing residence card, which is like really coveted. Yeah. And we bought her a house and a car.
Okay, well, A for honesty, so that's good.
Is that really honesty?
I mean, they're not sugarcoating it. They're selling their kids like they are. Could build them up a little more, but not
listen,
false
there's
advertising.
Like hundreds of these signs. What's going to compel someone to be like, yeah, I'm going to call up that chick?
They have their house and car and residency.
Yeah, I guess so. I need someone mid-level intelligence. I've been looking for someone like that.
Bizarre. I just I can't get over this whole concept.
I can't
I
either.
just can't even imagine if something like that existed in the US. It
would never. No, it would get canceled in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
So bad.
Listeners, would you want your parents holding up a sign with what they deemed as your accomplishments or lack thereof? Horrible.
We should do it for our friends, though. That might be kind of fun.
It's like those presentations, like the slides, like Date My Friend.
I can't.
At least we hype each other up a little more.
Yes. At least it's cheerleading. You're right.
Yeah. Well, breakups aren't looking so bad as the...
Speaking of,
as the topic today, you're like, I'd rather be broken up than have my parents parading with a sign in a park.
But let me remind you and our audience, that is how my cousin met her husband and father of her kid, because my aunt and his mom were in the same park holding up signs, and that's how they matched. And he's wonderful. He's like a really good husband and a really good father. But also, I don't know, what are the chances of something like that happening?
So maybe there's someone out there that's listening and is like, I'm down with this. Whatever works for whoever.
Yeah. You're going to meet your person in whichever way. So this could be one of the ways. But We won't be talking about how you're going to be meeting people because let's talk about breakups, how tough breakups are. But they don't need to be so tough when you have a breakup bestie like Kendra Allen.
We actually were on Kendra's podcast, which is Heal Your Heartbreak. And we're episode 254. I pulled it up before just to see. So if you want to listen, definitely check it out. But we met her like while we were doing our How to Be Dateable like press tour. And as soon as we were on her podcast, we're like, we need to get her back on to Dateable. Because, you know, you just vibe with certain people and you're like, they get it. They understand. Yes. They've been there themselves. They're empathetic to what other people are going through, and now they're paying it forward. And that's exactly Kendra. Like, she had those like heartbreaking, earth-shattering breakups, and one of them actually even led her back to her husband, who was her ex and now husband. So we're not leading with that because she's like, we are, but we're not. She's like, that's not the message.
That's not the lesson.
But sometimes life, you know, works in funny ways and brings people back to your orbit, or it doesn't, and allows you to free up yourself for someone better. And I don't know, I think like when I was like even listening to this podcast, like when I was re-editing it, I was just like thinking about like my devastating breakup and just like how different my life would be had that not happened. I don't know if I'd ever do Dateable. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have had like the partnership I have now. Maybe would be my divorce by now. Like, right. It's just, things kind of happen for a reason. I know like people hate hearing that in the moment, but I really believe when you look back like years later, it makes sense why things progress the way they did.
Definitely. I think the universe sends you messages, and if you're not getting it the first time or second time, and then a breakup is probably going to send that message loud and clear. I certainly feel it that way when I went to Greece 2 years ago. That message was so clear why that breakup had happened. What I like about Kendra's advice is that it's not generic. And for both of us who've gone through pretty earth-shattering breakups, that is like the most triggering thing is when you hear generic breakup advice. You're like, okay, yeah, all right, keep your head up. Tomorrow's another day. Only time will heal. You're like, okay, I've heard it all. But Kendra's been through it, and she doesn't just say, oh, it's going to get better with time. She actually takes you through step-by-step process of healing your heartbreak.
Yeah, and a lot of it is little. I think one of the things she said that sat with me the most, it's not like one big thing you do. It's like a series of little events. But that also means that if you try dating again, for instance, and you realize that you are not ready to date again, it's okay. That one thing is not going to like set you back in your progress. Like you can always decide, okay, I'm going to wait and then go back in a couple months. Like nothing is kind of like forever with it. So I like the frame she had around breakups. So I think if you're in the thick of a breakup, if you're going through it, this episode is for you. Also recommend checking out some of our other breakup episodes. Like you can search on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for them because I feel like every perspective is slightly different. So it's definitely worth a binge if you're in it right this minute. Or if you're not and you just like hearing the banter, or you have a friend that's going through a breakup, or you want to get ahead of it in case this is to happen to you again, you'll find nuggets as well.
I actually find that I like listening to breakup content when I'm out of a breakup because you've had some time away from it, and now you can digest and then kind of reevaluate what your actions were. So it's even if you're not going through one right now, it's probably worthwhile thinking about breakups that you've had.
Totally. Or if you want to feel validated that you're no longer with that person.
Yes. There you go. There you go. Yep.
Okay. Another way to feel validated, but not fall into the validation trap. Go get our book.
Yes,
How to Be Dateable. Or listen to the audiobook. You know, the audiobook is killing it right now. People are loving the audiobook. I think I don't know, I haven't looked at our stats in a while, I'll be honest, but last time I looked, it was like the audiobook was climbing up there in terms of like people downloading it versus like buying the actual physical copy even. So yeah, audiobook, definitely pick it up. Or of course, if you're like me, you can see if you're on YouTube at all. I always have a stack of books, hardcovers in my bookshelf because I think they're also really good decorative items and they give your place character. So,
not to be biased, but I think you need both. And then you should do the Kindle version too, just so you have the electronic copy when you can't listen to audio.
Totally. Okay. Well, How to Be Dateable, you pick. It's your choice. howtobedateable.com.
Yes.
Cool. Well, before we get into it with Kendra, let's hear a message from our sponsors.
Did you know that 38% of adults who have ever used a dating site or app report receiving unwanted sexually explicit messages or images? That's why we're so excited that the dating app Highly just introduced a new feature called Consent Guard that reduces unsolicited sexual behavior and starts a conversation about digital sexual consent. Because maybe you don't want to get a nude sent to you in the middle of your workday, but you are down for some sexy banter once you're home and you've been chatting for a bit. When the person you're chatting with sends a sexualized image or text, Highly sends you a notification, and you can decide to accept or deny the message. The power is in your hands. Launched in 2017, Highly encourages everyone to date as you are. Finally, an app that promotes authenticity, self-acceptance, open-mindedness, and inclusivity. No wonder Highly, short for Hey, I Like You, has become one of the top dating apps in U.S. app stores, with over 39 million downloads worldwide. If you want safer dating, download Highly from the App Store or Google Play, or check out Highly.com. That's spelled Hily.com. Date as you are, safely with Highly.
Cooler days call for layers that last, and Quince is my go-to for quality essentials that feel cozy, look refined, and won't blow your budget. Think a Mongolian cashmere sweater for only $50, premium denim that fits like a dream, and luxe outerwear you'll wear year after year. I'm eyeing their wool coats. They look designer level but cost a fraction of the price, and the quality just as good, if not better, because Quince partners directly with top-tier ethical factories and cuts out the middleman. I recently went on quite the Quince haul, getting a tan cashmere sweater and silk skirt I plan on wearing to Thanksgiving. Find your fall staples at Quince. Go to quince.com/dateable for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dateable. Okay, let's talk to our breakup bestie, Kendra.
Breakups are never easy, but what if you had a bestie that helped you through every breakup? That's why we have Kendra Allen with us today. She is your breakup bestie because that is the time when you could really use someone by your side. And she's here to help you regain your sense of self, coming back stronger after heartbreak, but also making every breakup profoundly informational, educational, transformational. So welcome to Dateable, Kendra.
Thank you. That was a great intro. Thank you so much. Excited to be on the other side and be able to be on your guys' show.
We're excited to have you. And we love your story too about how you ended up marrying your ex. So we're going to get into that. But
Yes.
I guess,
Okay.
is that what kicked this all off? Was like that the breakup that started it for you, or was there another one?
It was that one, but it was also probably the last 4 breakups plus this one all rolled into one. And that's why it was such like a kick in the butt for me. And it was actually like 10 years ago, June 1st, 2015. So it's been like 10 years. So yeah, it definitely was that breakup where my now husband broke up with me because he said he didn't think he ever wanted to get married or have kids. And, at the time I really thought it was so heartbreaking, but it was so respectful the way that he did it. He basically just said like, we want 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're going to let go. I'm going to let go for both of us, kind of a thing.
I feel like that breakup happens a lot more than we think. Like, I feel like a lot of the breakups I've been in have been similar. Like, we're not in the same place right now, or, something that's more external. That's not like, oh, I hate you as a person, or
I've fallen out of love with you or something.
Right.
Or did something terrible or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think a lot of people, when I'm talking to them, they'll say, my ex said, I can't give you what you want. And that does feel very unfair in the moment because it's like, how are you to know what I need right now? Like, I should be the one making the call, but I do think a lot of us won't make the call.
No.
So I do think, I know people can get frustrated by hearing, I can't give you what you want. But if you really look at it, they probably can't give you what you want. And you're either going to stay in a relationship not getting what you want and end up resentful, or it's going to end down the road at some point anyway.
So was that one of the key learnings you had from this breakup? Any other?
Oh, I mean, there were so many. I wouldn't even say that was a key learning necessarily. I think that was probably something that came a lot later where I was able to be thankful for the way that he ended things. And a big thing with no contact, that was the breakup where no contact became one of my core beliefs because it was the first time I actually had done it. And it's no coincidence that I'm saying that I was processing the last 4 breakups all in one because I had stayed in contact with like every other ex before that. And I had never fully like integrated those. And I remember being very resentful at him that he was not reaching out and asking how I was doing.
Right.
And later it was like, oh, that was actually the nicest thing you could have done for me. So that's what I tell people. They're like, my ex blocked me. They're not reaching out. I'm like, good. Like you will thank them someday. I promise you. So there was a lot of learnings. No contact was definitely one. Learning how to be by myself was a big one. Learning how to commitment was always a big thread for me. I loved my therapist will call it the conquest of turning someone who doesn't want a relationship into a relationship person.
Oh my God, I was the same way.
Love the project.
Love the project, the conquest. Like, oh, if I can change you, that means I don't know, a good worthy enough of something. So having to realize I am commitment worthy and I don't need to change anyone to make me feel worthy. That was another big lesson that I learned. So it was, I started asking people, hey, what are you looking for in relationships? And if they're like, I don't want a relationship, it was like, okay,
bye.
That's a goodbye for me, So, so a lot of those kinds of things that were learned over the course of the next, year mainly. But then, I think you're always learning things looking back on past breakups.
I feel like I had a very similar story to you in the sense that like I always went for these people that like weren't fully in or like they said they didn't want a relationship right now or they couldn't fully give. And I was like, I'll change them. And what you said earlier of it was like the 4 compounded, that really hit because I think that's what happened with my big breakup was like, I heard again, like, oh, I can't give you what you're looking for. Like, we can't end this. And I think my first initial thought when that happened was like, I can't believe this is happening again. Like, I thought this was different and it's happening again. Can you talk more about just like, I don't know, we like all the cuts that kind of like lead into like that larger one?
Yeah, I firmly believe that we will learn the same lesson over and over again, usually with different names, or sometimes it's the same until we really learn it. I don't think it's a rare experience that you think, oh my gosh, this is happening again. Why is this happening again? And I think a lot of the time we think that self-knowledge is going to be the thing that prevents it. Like, oh, I go after people who are not open for commitment. But I don't think knowledge, it's a good first step, but I don't think it's something that will make any lasting changes until you actually address why that's happening and change like the underlying values and beliefs around it. So I think that's very common that people will, date the same person with a different name until they learn what is it with me? And it's not like a blame game kind of thing, but what is it with me that's causing me to go after these particular people or accept a particular behavior within relationships? And that's when we get to start seeing changes. So I think the big breakups, I actually just did an episode on this of the power of rock bottom. I think it's so powerful. The point where you're like, I give up. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. This is so painful. That's when we start actually, and it doesn't mean you're going to go out and find the person you're going to marry next, but at least you're changing course,
Well, we find with so many people going through breakups is they say, well, do I need to hit a rock bottom for this message to hit? And I've often toyed with that question as well. It's like, do we all need to go through something really bad for us to actually digest what we're supposed to learn?
It's such a good question. And I don't know. I love the quote of like rock bottoms when you stop digging. I think we can all determine what our rock bottom is going to be, like what our turning point necessarily is going to be. But I also think a lot of people spend time, if we're talking specifically about a breakup, I've been in the position where I keep going back to the ex. I keep texting them. I keep, going over to their house and, oh my gosh, what do you know? We sleep together like that. And I would spend so much time judging myself for that. And I think sometimes when you're in that space, you're like, what is it going to take to get me to stop? I don't necessarily think that's productive. I think it's more, I had a mentor tell me, like, you're going to keep doing it until you're not getting something out of it anymore. Or you're going to get to a point where pain is more than the benefit that you're getting. And until then, don't stress about it. Don't judge yourself for it. Because honestly, that's probably going to keep you in that behavior longer. So I think sometimes we have to just let ourselves fall to the point where we're open to other ideas instead of being like, I can't believe I'm answering this call. I can't believe I'm driving to their house right now. Because, you're still doing it. Judgment on top of that's not going to help. No. It's just going to make you feel worse.
So we've had a few episodes that we've recorded recently that both people went to SLA, which is Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. And I think like when you hear this, at least my old perception was like more sex addiction or like love addiction. Yes. I don't know. Like I think some of the things that I think one of our guests talked about of why she went, I was like, a lot of people actually probably could be in this boat of like feeling consumed by dating and love and relationships. And, when you don't get that text back, your whole like world gets off kilter or you just can't function after that breakup. Have you heard of this program, or what's your take of seeking help with stuff like this?
I think it's beautiful. I have had a few friends go through SLA. There's also Codependence Anonymous. Okay. I've had friends that it has absolutely dramatically changed the way that they go through. I have a background in AA, so I'm very familiar with the 12 steps. And I think it's incredible. I think the more we can tie breakups to overcoming an addiction, the more successful everyone's going to be. And the more validated people are going to feel, because it is so similar. And, any kind of anonymous program is going to be rooted in the 12 steps, which is exactly what helps someone get over alcohol or drugs. So I think it's amazing. And I have seen it work wonders for people. But I think it's important to make that distinction. I used to think of it too as like, oh my gosh, it's just a bunch of sex addicts going into this thing. But so much of it is the obsession with the fantasy of finding a relationship. This is going to fix everything. And, being able to let go of that and focus on yourself. I mean, a lot of this is just learning how to focus on you.
And then when you're focusing on yourself, we are also hearing that we've overcorrected now. It's all about how do I get better at being by myself, being alone, just being this individual on earth who can just be independent, but I don't need anybody. How do you not get into that danger zone of being too by yourself after a breakup?
Yeah, I think that's such a delicate balance to find yourself in, because I remember I made a video once about you're allowed to work on loving yourself and also want to find a partner and want to have a meaningful partnership. So I think a lot of us, we want to focus on just being by ourselves out of fear. It's like, well, if I never find someone, I want to be comfortable on my own. So I'm just going to focus on that instead. So I think a lot of it's just going to be letting go of fear and staying open. I mean, it's so hard to say this, but I think a lot of it is a mindset about, I'm finding joy in my own life, but I'm also having the idea that I'm remaining open to finding partnership. And I think too, a lot of it comes down to the people you surround yourself with, and, having meaningful friendships, I think is a great way to stay open and practice that relationship muscle, even if it's not necessarily a a romantic relationship.
I think one of the hardest parts of a breakup is like this wrestling of like, was this the right decision? And I think like if you're the one getting broken up with, maybe there's I don't know, it's always like a murky line because I like just think about like an ex of mine and he made some comment like, when you broke up with me, and I was like, wait, all this time I thought you broke up with me because like I basically broke up with you because like you couldn't give me what I wanted. Like it was like I didn't break up with you because I wanted to break up with you. And it's just like I think a lot of breakups are like that. Or if someone, like let's say you did make the call like that this person just wasn't right for you, how do you like know that this actually was the right choice?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I actually, after this, want to ask you guys something if you've heard of it. But I think it's incredibly rare that you see a breakup is the wrong decision. Honestly, even if the people end up getting back together, I think a breakup is still the right decision. Like I don't think you necessarily stumble into a breakup by mistake. I mean, if it's like a drunken fight, I don't know, maybe it could be a mistake, but I think sometimes there's probably something rooting it in reality. So I don't know. I just don't think a breakup is a mistake. And because it is something that you think really long and hard about. It's not something that someone wakes up on a Wednesday morning and is like, I think I'm going to break up with my partner today. Like it's something that usually is, in talking to so many people that have ended relationships, it's usually something that goes back and forth for a long time. It's something they're thinking about for a long time. And so I don't necessarily think it happens by mistake. What I always tell people though is regardless of how valid and righteous you feel in your decision to break up, you're going to have a moment where you regret it. Always. I mean, almost always. Just, I tell people that to know, like, if that comes up, don't panic. It doesn't mean you made a mistake. It probably just means that one, you're missing the person, which you're allowed to miss them. You're allowed to grieve and be sad, even if you're the one that ended a relationship. And just know that you need to like wait a little bit before I think a lot of people act out of impulse. And I share this story. Actually, my husband, he was in a relationship for a really long time before me. He ended things with her. And I think a couple weeks later, he was driving and had like a moment of really, really missing her. And he called her and said like, I miss you so much. And the next day he woke up and he was like, oh my God, I made this was not the right decision. And now I have to do this all over again, So it's like, and he's like, now I have to do this to her again, to myself again. So just know that it's very normal to have a moment where you regret the breakup, even if you feel very strong in your reasoning.
Well, speaking of your husband, you did go through a breakup and then got back together. Now you're married.
Yeah.
So how do you justify that that breakup was the right decision?
Yeah.
Even though you got back together.
It's so funny. We were just over the 4th of July, we were with like his best friend and his family who, they've always been really close within our relationship. And we were talking about, and my husband's friend said, I remember after you broke up with Kendra, like being so upset at you and like telling you how upset I was at you. And we were all just saying how we really don't think we would be at this place had that breakup not happened. Like I think it really needed to happen for a multitude of reasons. I mean, for him, it was he had been in and out of relationships basically since he was like 18, just a long string of hopping in and out of like a serial monogamist. And he needed to be by himself. That was like a big thing. He needed to be by himself. He felt like if he didn't take that time, he would never, like he would always have that thing in the back of his head of, oh, should I be single? I think he had this fantasy of what being single was going to be like. And he needed to, I guess, get that out of his system. And for me, like I really needed to learn how to be okay without a partner and like gain my self-esteem. And I will say we had a lot of things once we got back together where I was very different. He was not used to me setting boundaries. He was not used to me like not being afraid to lose my partner. That's the biggest difference. Before I was terrified of losing a partner. After I was not. And so we had to go through a lot of adjustments in terms of, oh, whoa, okay, like you're voicing this, you're telling me like you don't like this or we need to change this. Before I would have never done that.
So how long was that break before you guys got back together?
It was a year and a half.
Okay, so that's a good chunk of time, I guess.
No talking, no seeing each other, nothing. it's honestly hard to even call it a break because it felt like a full breakup.
Yeah.
I honestly never thought I would see him again.
So
Okay.
in that time, what were some of the things that you did to get to the place that when you did get back together, you were like, you can set boundaries. I'm fine if this doesn't work out.
I think, and I tell this to people, I think the power of going through a breakup and surviving it is knowing I've done this before, I can do it again. So that's kind of the thing that got rid of like my fear of going through another breakup was like, okay, I went through this like sobbing on the floor, curled up in the fetal position breakup. And now I'm totally okay. So I know if anything were to happen, I could do that again. And then, I mean, I did a lot of, it's, cliche, but journaling. I went to therapy. I really, really deepened my female friendships. That was such a big healing thing for me to learn how to exist within those relationships. And I really dove into like my whole relationship past, I would say. I did a lot of writing I actually went through the 12 steps on Luke. So I went through all the steps on him, which was very powerful. And yeah, just a lot of internal work. And I remember having weekends where I didn't have plans and being so sad and feeling like the world was going to end if I was going to be by myself, and kind of getting through a lot of things that I thought were really scary and ended up being okay. And I think that's how we gain that self-esteem, is realizing like, okay, this is scary. I'm going to do it anyway. And on the other side, I'm going to feel more confident just in general.
And did you get back into the dating scene?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think like 9 months in, I started going on dates, which again was like, it felt, and this is what I tell people too, I firmly believe in dating before you're fully ready, because I think it's like, I think it shines the light on things that maybe you didn't realize were there. I think we can, kind of hide in our little cave and do all of our healing, but we're not really sure how it's going to work until we put it into practice. So I really felt dating was like this kind of practice lab for me, I guess, to have these kind of harder conversations, because I remember having, first, second date, difficult conversations of like, hey, I don't drink. That used to be something I was scared to say, because I was like, oh, I want them to like me before they realize that. And I was like, no, I'm going to have this conversation right off the bat. And that got rid of I remember a guy's like, oh, I can't date someone like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's okay. Yeah. And then have like practicing those conversations of, oh, are you open to marriage? Are you open to having kids? Where that would not have come out of my mouth in a 6-month relationship previously. So just being able to practice that kind of stuff. And then I did seriously date someone for 6 months before getting back together with Luke.
So, I mean, obviously it depends on the breakup, but some breakups can really wear on your confidence, like especially if you've been together for a while and you've been neglected by your partner, or they've checked out completely or don't view you sexually. Like there's a lot that can really shake your like confidence. And I think like I'm mixed on this, because on one side, I'm like, yes, it should come from within. You don't need the validation of others. But then on the other side, it's like, maybe you just need that person that's going to like give you a little of attention to like be like, yeah, I still got it. Like I am desirable. What's your take on like, I guess the mix of validation?
Such a good, you guys have such good questions. What I tell people is, if you're stuck feeling like there's no other person out there that you'll think is attractive, because we get in that spot of I'm never going to find someone, there's no one else like that. Yeah. I will say, like, go on the apps and just see, you just acknowledge that there are other people out there. And I remember going through this in the breakup. Like, I remember feeling like it's a normal thing to miss sex with someone. And if you're like going through this single thing, I remember being like, I feel like, and it's about being in touch with what you need and not shaming yourself for that. I remember going through like, I feel like I just want to have like a one night stand kind of a thing. And I remember doing it. And then I remember being like, that didn't feel as good as I thought it would in my head. And then kind of getting that out of my systems. I think as long as you're going through a breakup and knowing that not one thing is going to solve your pain, like not a good date's not going to solve your breakup. having sex isn't going to solve your breakup. It's a bunch of little things over time. So I think if you go into it with that mindset, you're not going to necessarily do something that harmful necessarily, because it's all these little things that gets someone through a breakup. It's not like, aha, this one moment, which we'd all like it to be.
Of course.
I actually like that because it kind of like reduces the pressure because it gives you that ability to do trial and error and like see what works.
Yeah. And if you're staying true to yourself, you can, that's why I tell people with dating, I'm like, you can try dating. And if it doesn't feel good, then you stop. You delete the apps and you go back to what you were doing. It doesn't necessarily mean like you're doomed. If you try dating and it doesn't work, then just go back to not dating.
Yeah. I remember jumping back into dating like right after a breakup. I was like, I don't want to waste any time this time. And then I was like crying in the bathroom and I'm like, okay, maybe it's too early.
Not ready.
But you kind of needed to do it to see, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nonlinear too. You could feel really good some days and then kind of fall back the next day.
Yeah.
I remember just feeling I missed the familiarity of someone, you know, the kind of like rapport you establish with someone and just being around them, the comfort level, and thinking if I were to date again, it would take me a while to get back into that kind of familiarity with someone. How do you get over that kind of thinking? It's like, oh, I have to start over again with someone.
Yeah.
It seems so hard.
I think that is probably one of the biggest things that people are dealing with when they're going through a breakup. I'd say the first part is having that awareness that it does take a long time to build up that rapport, because what I hear is people will go on 1 to 2 dates and be like, I don't feel that connection. And I'm like, that took years to get to with your ex. You can't expect yourself to be able to get right into that. And then 2 is I actually encourage people to take an actual inventory of all of like the little things that you had with your ex that were meaningful, and probably not even things you think too much about, but you know, if you and your ex used to every Friday night would order in Thai food and watch a movie, like all those little things. There's so many little, I call them like micro habits that we have with exes, actually inventorying those and think, okay, how can I, okay, Friday nights are hard for me. Can I have like a standing date with a friend that I do this? Or, maybe you have something come up at work where you have a weird thing with your boss and you would always talk to your ex being like, okay, I need someone that I call about this kind of stuff. So I think the mistake a lot of people make is they leave all these voids gaping open. Obviously, you can't fix all of them. And you should not be using one friend to fix all of these things.
Definitely not.
But just having like, okay, these are all the little things that I'm missing in my life. Is there anything I can do to fill these in the meantime? And 2, that way, when you start dating, it's not like you're going to expect someone to just fill all these things right away. It's like, okay, I talked to Michelle about my work issues. So then when I'm dating someone new, I can like slowly start integrating that. But I do think it's important to look at all of those little things that are missing.
That's a really good idea. I never thought about it that way, but I do think that's like when people get overwhelmed because you're like, all of a sudden it feels like I have no one. But if you get ahead of it, that's so smart. I think another thing when I was like deep in Googling breakups, like when I was going through it, something I found was like, I mean, of course you miss the person. I don't want to like minimize them completely, but a big piece of it was like, sometimes it's more about how you felt around the person, like that you felt like a good version of yourself. That's what you're missing. So can you find other people that bring out that same side? Or even just remembering, it was empowering for me to be like, actually, that's within me anyways. Like that's not the other person. Like I can find that with someone else.
Yes.
Like, are there any other, I guess, hacks? I know you did a whole episode on hacks. Like, is there anything else that like people can do to like get in the right mindset, or even like what you were talking about earlier, like actually like physical things that we can do?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of writing and inventories. And so I'll tell this story from my last breakup, but one thing Luke and I would always do is we would, on like the weekends, we would venture up to LA. We're in Orange County, so like an hour and a half drive. So we would venture up to LA. We would go to Upright Citizens Brigade, like the improv club, and we would find find a super fun restaurant. So we would do, and sometimes it would be music shows. And I remember really, again, like the reason I love journaling so much is it does give you this mirror into yourself and realizing, okay, I feel sad that I don't have that experience anymore of doing that, because I loved that. I loved that we did that, and it made me feel very fun. I wasn't normally like a go out and adventure kind of person before that. And so I remember texting some friends and being like, would anyone be open to going to Upright Citizens Brigade? I'll pick a restaurant. So I was like, I'm going to do this.
Uh-huh.
And it was so fun. And we started doing that a lot. Like that was like, and my friends appreciated it too. Everyone loves a plan. Like everyone loves to have a planner in their group, you know?
Yeah.
So being able to be like, okay, we're going to go do this, and realizing, okay, he didn't take that from me. And realizing what things did you learn about yourself within that relationship that you really liked? Because like you said, it is within you. You can keep that and hang on to that. And it's also good information to know if someone in the future doesn't make you feel like that. That's good information too, you know? So I think we focus a lot on what we didn't like about our ex, and we tend to neglect what was good about past relationships.
Yeah.
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners. You guys know I'm all about clean eating, but I just learned about the hidden microplastics in my home. That's why I've made the switch to Blue Land across all the cleaning products around my house. Their products meet the highest standard of clean. They're effective, yet gentle on my family and the planet. Blue Land was also named an EPA Safer Choice Partner of the Year. From cleaning sprays and toilet bowl cleaner to dishwasher and laundry detergent tablets, Blue Land's formulas are 100% microplastic free, made with certified clean ingredients free from chlorine, bleach, and harsh chemicals that are safe to use around my household. I love not having to choose between the safe option and what actually gets my house clean. The dishwasher and laundry tablets are now staples in our home. Blue Land has a special offer for our listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/dateable. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/dateable for 15% off. That's blueland.com/dateable to get 15% off.
So I've tried a lot of things that claim to make life easier, but NYX leak-proof period underwear is one of the only brands that truly delivers. I no longer wear clunky pads or toxic tampons, and the defining moment for me was when I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, living in fear that my period would come early. And then I remembered I brought my trusty NYX period underwear, and that fear completely subsided. There's no way I could have been changing pads and tampons at 19,000 feet. So NYX, KNIX, has completely changed how I feel about my period. Their leak-proof technology looks, feels, and washes like normal undies, but have a range of absorbencies for your lightest to heaviest days. Up to 6 super tampons, so you are totally covered. Plus, NYX has patented bonded edges to prevent side leaks. And with buttery soft, stretchy fabric in cuts like thong, bikini, boy short, high-rise, and more, you'll find just the right fit. So head to NYX.com and you'll see why I love NYX. Don't forget to use code DATEABLE for 20% off your order. Get leak-proof undies, amazing bras, and more. That's KNIX.com, code DATEABLE, NYX.com. What's the one thing about your health you wish someone had told you years ago? Well, for me, it's how important the gut is. Truly, the gut is the foundation of overall health and vitality. It's not just about digestion. The gut affects everything from your energy levels and mood to weight management and even longevity. And while most gut supplements contain probiotics or probiotics and prebiotics at best, Bioma contains all 3 essential ingredients your gut needs. Visit gobioma.com/dateable today. That includes prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics. Each ingredient is science-backed and third-party tested. Just take 2 capsules before breakfast and take the guesswork out of feeling your best. Visit gobioma.com/dateable today for an extra 15% off your order. That's gobioma.com/dateable and get an extra 15% off. And then there's this fantasy of winning your ex back. This is one of the most searched phrases on the internet, how to win my ex back.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when someone hears your story, you're living out the fantasy, Kendra.
I know.
You won your ex back.
I know.
And a lot of people couch that in the time that we're taking a break, I'm going to do everything I can to mold myself to be this version that's going to get my ex back.
I know.
So when someone gets into that cloud of thinking, how do you get out and say you're doing this for you, not to win someone back?
I know. It's so hard. I was like, if I didn't have a conscience, I feel like I could really pump out my courses.
Oh, totally.
You really could. I won my ex back. I changed him, and now we're married.
Here's how you can too. But unfortunately, I have a conscience, and I couldn't do that. But even in my episode where I laid out the whole story, there was like 5 minutes of disclaimers. I'm always just nervous to share the story because I know it's so easy to latch onto it and think, oh my gosh, maybe that can be me too.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, one, if I were doing that, where I was sitting around trying to mold myself to be Luke's perfect partner, we would not be where we are 100%. Like I really had to think that I was never going to see him again. And I always say, if I hadn't gotten back together with him, I have absolutely no doubt that I would be with someone that was like meant for me, you know? So that's a huge one of just, I always tell people the moral of my story should not be focus on you and you'll end up with your ex. It should be focus on yourself, heal yourself, and good things will happen. It doesn't matter. Like Luke is just a piece of this. He's not like, oh my God, my missing puzzle piece. It was just like, okay, that was what happened next. But I shared too, like when he asked to get coffee after we saw each other at a wedding, which was the first time we had seen each other. And 3 weeks after the wedding, I got an email from him. And the 3 weeks was not by accident. He was really nervous that it was just like an emotional reaction to seeing me. So he waited those weeks to make sure it was something that wasn't going to just, I honestly thought he was going to tell me that he was sick, or I thought of so many different things. Him wanting to get back together, even when he emailed me saying, I want to see you, never thought that it was to get back together, ever. I remember a friend mentioning it to me and I was like, there's no way.
So maybe this is a question for both of you. So, okay. When I was going through a breakup and it was an on again, off again, spoiler, it's not who I'm with now. So it didn't end in that. I always held on to that stat that's like 50% of people break up at least once. There's some like stat out there. And I feel like it is common. Like you do hear of this, but I think it can be detrimental that you hold on to it. But Yue had this happen too, that you broke up with your now partner and you got back together. I guess like how do you determine that it's worth giving another shot? Like how did you both feel like you were like, okay, I am going to take that leap again after someone broke up with me and like I'm willing to do it again?
I think for me, and it's very hard to, I wish I could put it in better words, but for me, it was an automatic feeling of this is very different than it was before. And I had all of I literally came in with a list of things that I wanted to ensure that it wasn't, I need this, like, we're not going to have sex for this amount of time, like all these things that I had. And he was like, yep, any of those things. Like, I'm open to doing this. But it wasn't even, honestly, I don't even know if we went through with that whole list because it was, oh my gosh, this feels so different. And for me, it was, I always felt like he was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be with someone who's invested. Like he is into this relationship. I didn't feel any kind of, I don't know. So I wish I had a better answer, but I think that was it. I also knew in my head, there's a chance this doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to live with that.
Yeah. I think in those stories, in that stat of 50% of people break up once, I think what works is when you know it's a breakup, not a break. And you said this earlier, Kendra. When you take a break, I actually don't think that works because you're still hoping to get back together. For mine, it was a clean break. I really thought we broke up. Yeah. Then I did the work of asking myself if I were to create my perfect relationship, how I want to feel around someone, what would it look like? And I did that without him. And when he came back into my life, he had said everything that I had drafted. And so it kind of aligned. It wasn't about him, like same thing with you, Kendra. It wasn't him specifically. It was just he happened to be the person that was aligned with what I was looking for. But I truly still think the key to my breakup was that it was a pure breakup.
I agree 1,000%. Yeah.
I mean, as someone that didn't actually believe it was a breakup, that's why I was in an on again, off again. I think that was the problem, was it never felt like a real one. I guess that maybe leads to like, what are these stages of a breakup? Because I think for me, I never hit acceptance in that until later, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, I think also one of the stages of like, I don't know, I was okay never getting back together with him. And people ask like, did you miss him the whole time? And it was like, no, I honestly didn't. I remember finding out that he was seeing someone, and I remember feeling like, honestly, obviously weird. It's always weird to hear your ex is with someone. But I do remember thinking, I'm happy for him. Like, I really do hope he has worked through his commitment stuff. So I think that's a big one, but you're going to go through all of, and I don't think it follows like a stage framework. I think there are stages, but I think you're probably going to go like here, and then jump back 3 steps and then go up 1 and then back 2. And like, you're going to be on a daily basis. It's just so many things. I think being able to see your ex objectively is a big stage that a lot of people don't necessarily strive for, because it's not necessarily like a sexy goal of like, I just want to be able to see my ex objectively. But I think a lot of people either try to focus on what they didn't like about their ex, which is important in some ways, or they have their ex up on the pedestal. I think if you can just see them as like, okay, we had good times, we had bad times. I don't like how the breakup ended, but I can see why it happened. And, you know, all of those kind of things. I think that's an important stage. And I wanted to add one thing too, to people that are stuck in the thing of getting back together with their ex. The thing that I like to remind people of is, let's say you follow all of these online things of how to get your ex back, which honestly, that the amount of online stuff about that is what made me start Breakup Bestie. Cause I was like, this cannot be the only help that's online. Like we can't survive this. But let's say you follow all of these tricks to get your ex back. Are you ever going to feel secure with them?
No.
Ever? No. You will never feel secure. Like, you're always going to feel like if I do one thing wrong, or if I, you know, I'm not on my game, it's going to end. So I just don't think especially if the on again, off again, I talk to people all the time. I just interviewed someone, she did on again, off again for 6.5 years. And she's like, I was in a constant state of anxiety because I just never knew when it was going to end. Again. That's not a way to exist within a relationship.
No. What about like anger and sadness and like the different emotions? Like, how do you see that coming and going through a breakup?
I think they're all very important. I know for me, anger was a tough one. I just grew up in a house where like being angry wasn't productive, I guess. But anger was very important for me. And I tell people like, I think sometimes people are like, I wish I could be angry at my ex. Because it's sometimes, like we talked about, sometimes it's just a very like sad thing when 2 people just don't work out. That's most breakups is where it's just like, okay, this just isn't working. And it's just very sad. And you wish you could have a reason. Like, I wish they cheated on me because that way I would have something to like focus my anger on. Sometimes you can just be angry that it happened. Yeah. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be directed at your ex. It could just be, I'm just mad at the universe or God or whatever it is. Like, I'm just mad this happened to me. And that's okay to latch on to. But I do think it's important to go through all of those feelings and not feel a stress to go through them in a particular order. I hear from people that say first 2 months they felt okay after the breakup, and at month 6 they were like on their knees in pain, so sad. And I'm like, that's fine. That's normal. You know, I think just knowing, not blocking any emotions, but just knowing your brain's a very powerful thing. And sometimes it shields you from really painful things in the beginning. And sometimes we don't have things come up until we're ready to actually deal with them.
What if you have no feelings whatsoever? Are you just in a state of suppressing these feelings, or have you already processed them? Because I can recall 2 relationships that were multiple year-long relationships. And when it ended, I felt nothing. And I thought, is there something wrong with me?
I think sometimes people grieve them before they end, for sure. I think if you're at a place where it's been struggling for a long time, I think a lot of people grieve. I hear that a lot with people that are coming out of, long-term marriages. They get out of the marriage and they're like almost ready to date again because they're like, I've grieved this for so long within it. Some of it is just knowing your body and like knowing yourself. I know for me, if I'm suppressing emotions, I will get very anxious. So just recognizing those kind of things, because maybe you are suppressing things, maybe you are in a state of shock, and maybe it'll come out later. But I do think that's an option too, of especially if you were the one that had to make the tough decision to end a relationship. There is a chance you did a lot of the grieving beforehand.
I think sometimes the ones that can be really hard are when you're taken off guard completely. Like when you feel like, I don't know, at least in my experience, I think those have been the harder ones.
The worst.
Yeah, like why do you think sometimes even like a situationship or something that wasn't even fully developed can be harder than ending like a years long relationship?
Yeah, I just think there's no time, like there really is no time frame of, you know, we all want to follow like the Sex and the City thing of like half the time you were together or whatever. I think that's the rule that I hear about people say. But this is actually brings me back to the thing that I wanted to ask you earlier. Have you guys been hearing about this term people are using now called a discard?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's like a new thing. I think it's starting on TikTok. I
course.
just recorded a whole solo episode about how I hate this term, but people are starting to say like, oh, I went through an avoidant discard. They're calling it that when an avoidant breaks up with them out of nowhere. And I'm like, why are we using this word? You're not a piece of trash.
That's a terrible word to use
I
for
know.
people.
I know. Yes, it goes, and it's basically, I think what people are referring to is when a breakup happens out of nowhere, where the person just like all of a sudden takes off, which yes, it's so painful. It's so painful. And I think what makes it more painful a lot of the time is people, when it happens like that, it feels like the whole thing wasn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just make it mean like, oh my gosh, if you were able to just let go of me that quickly, I don't believe anything you said.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not true. I want to make that clear. Like that's not true. I think if a relationship felt real to you, it was a real relationship. And I think we do that and it just makes it feel even worse.
So I think one of the hardest things about breakups is like recognizing that it was like, if one person did it, doesn't mean everyone will. But that can be easier said than done. Like I think we tend to carry that over. Like I could see the situation you were just describing, like I was discarded and will that happen to the next person I date? And like you can really get in your head with this stuff. How do you not let the past impact the future? Like, how do you work through that so you're not bringing it in to every new dating experience or relationship?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I use the metaphor of knee pads. So like if you got in like I don't know, if you're learning how to skateboard or rollerblade and you fall and like hurt your knee, it's like you could either never do it again or you could like put yourself in like a giant bubble and try to do it. Or like if you fell on your knee, like the next time you're going to wear knee pads kind of a thing. So it's like addressing, and this is why I think it's very important to take the time to stop, pause, and process what happened within the relationship. And maybe it's what happened in your last 4 relationships, as it was for me. Like really looking like, okay, what's the patterns here? What are the biggest things I need to look out for? Like, what do I need to, like, what are my knee pads? You know, for me, it was commitment. I need to really make sure that this person wants a relationship. And if they don't, then I need to walk away. So figuring out like, what are those biggest things? It doesn't mean like being with someone in, you know, in general. And sometimes it's things that you don't, I don't know, like sometimes breakups happen and there weren't any signs that you were able to see. So sometimes those things aren't as clear, but just knowing like, what do I need to be on the lookout for? And what are kind of my safeguards that I have in place? One of the biggest ones is being comfortable on your own. I think like if you're drowning in like being alone, you're going to latch on to the first thing that you see. So if you can feel a little bit more comfortable, you'll be able to be more discerning and have better judgment on who you're dating and be less likely to get hurt again. And it, you know, you might get hurt again. And that's the thing, like you're building this breakup muscle, this healing muscle, and like you will be able to go through it again. Obviously no one wants to, but you know.
Okay, this is going to sound really unsexy, but I'm very curious what you think of this idea. This breakup muscle that I've been exercising is, I've been thinking about, okay, if I were to be single again, how do I come back even stronger? And how do I lessen that breakup, that heartbreak time? Like that's a muscle I've exercised. But then I thought about how about you front load the conversation of the end. So in my current relationship, I presented this idea of like a love prenup. Basically, like, let's talk about what would make us leave this relationship
Oh,
right now.
interesting. Okay.
And it's kind of this contract is a terrible way to put it. But when you go to a job because of so many layoffs happening now, people recommend that you negotiate an exit package. This is kind of what I'm playing around with. I know it's so unsexy.
Yeah.
But I don't love what I've really hated about breakups in the past is there is no clear line. There's no clear line of this is when I leave. It's based on feelings.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like my needs aren't met anymore. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling neglected.
Yeah.
But what if they're actual contractual needs that were not met by your partner, whether they're not able or not willing? Then you both exit the relationship.
Interesting.
Thoughts. We're calling it a prenup.
I love, okay. No, my first thought is like, I remember a mentor telling me like and she had recently gone through a divorce, and she was like, a marriage is a business partnership. Like, yes, it's there's romance and intimacy, but like, especially once you get married, have assets together, have kids together, like it really is a business partnership that you're in. I think a lot of people would feel scared by that, but I think it's great because it's forcing the conversation of what do I need and what's not okay with me. And I think as long as it's something that kind of evolves over time of like, okay, this is changing for me. Because I do think that's a big thing that happens is people don't recognize that when you're with someone for, 10 plus years, like a lot of things change, and then your life circumstances change. You throw kids in or new jobs or somoneone gets fired.
Totally.
It's just like so many things that happen. But no, I think a lot of that makes sense of like, yeah, my husband and I have talked about it. We're both sober. We met in AA, and we've had the conversation of what would happen if one person relapsed. Like what would that, and we've had that conversation of like, what would that look like? Okay, you would, if the person's not willing to get help again, then that would grounds for ending things. So we've had those kind of conversations, but I think those are good. And to me, it shows like an immense amount of security within the relationship to have those kind of conversations, and you're not like skirting around. I don't know. I think it's just like a really deep temperature check, which I think a lot of relationships lack temperature checks.
Yeah. No, I like that part of it. I think to your point though, Kendra, I agree with that. My first instinct is like, how do you stay ahead of what can come? Because like you just don't know what you don't know sometimes.
Right.
Like sometimes you think like this is what's the deal breaker for me, but then something totally new comes in.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be an evolving conversation. I mean, I think having conversations is always positive. I guess like with every relationship, I don't know. It's like the balance of like doing the work and thinking about the relationship, but also making sure that you're like living in the relationship and not just talking about the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for some, like, especially I talk about my therapist to my therapist about this, like being in this line of work that we are in, I think it really does change certain dynamics. I'm I'm in breakups like all day, so it's like
so true.
So, just like I would imagine there's not a single divorce attorney that doesn't have a prenup with their partner.
Right.
Like, I think just having all this information and exposure is also different,
I think that's why I say, though, that like you have to live in the relationship too, because I think if you're in a state, and I'm like, obviously us who are hosts of these podcasts, but even our listeners, like when you're just like so dialed in, I think it's clearly so amazing. Clearly we do what we do for a reason, but you also need to like live in it, because I think if we're only in our heads on it and like only discussing all the time, that has other challenges that come with it.
Yeah. Right. And recognizing things change over time. My beliefs since starting the podcast, since having Breakup Bestie, have changed so much of like, and since I became a mom, my wanting to help, like, not realizing how hard co-parenting would be until recognizing, oh my God, this would be devastating, so just realizing like things are going to change over time. And that's okay.
Yes. And don't remain too cerebral about it. Because like also what you were saying in the beginning too, we can have all this intellectual theories in our heads, but they have to be in practice as well. And that's how you see if they're effective or not.
Yeah.
So really, really good reminder of that balance.
Yeah.
I guess for someone that's in the thick of it right now, that's really going through it, what's some words of encouragement you would leave them?
I mean, my favorite thing is this too shall pass. Just just remembering that you're not going to feel like this forever. Like, you're going to be okay. No matter what the outcome of this breakup is, like, you will not feel like this forever. That's just, I don't know. I just think it's so simple and so important to remember. And I also like to remind people that they can, if they feel hopeless, they can borrow hope from other people. Like, if you have a friend and just say, like, can you tell me I'm going to be okay?
Yeah.
And just listening to them say that, because, you know, especially someone that you do trust, like, I think that's very powerful. Just having someone that says, like, I know you're going to be okay. Like, I know you're going to get through this. I just remember when someone said that to me, and actually I trusted them, and it was like, okay, I don't believe it for me, but I trust that she believes it. And I don't know. So that's my biggest thing, is just like having that grain of hope that it's going to pass and that you're going to be okay is and don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Don't do it by yourself. Like, you're not going to get a trophy for going through a breakup by yourself.
Right.
And I know, especially for people like when they get to, you know, mid 30s, where it feels like all of your friends are getting married and stuff. Like, just remember, if any of my friends went through a breakup, aside from me actually like being a breakup person, like, you know, it doesn't matter if what I'm going through, like, I'm going to help my friends. So don't be too proud to ask for help.
Maybe that's a good final question of, like, if you have a friend that's going through a breakup, how do you support them in a way that helps them, but also doesn't turn you into their therapist either?
Ooh, yeah, it's a good question. No, that's a great question. I mean, I'm so big on asking people what they need, or like, how can I best support you? And sometimes like not overstepping. Sometimes overstepping. Yeah, because if someone says, no, I'm fine, I'll be like, okay, this Saturday, I'm going to bring coffee. Let's go for a walk. Just doing things like that, making sure they know that they're not alone. And two, like, the most powerful thing that I have gotten is the reminder that I can also set boundaries with someone going through a breakup. If someone's willing to like move forward, I'm 100% on their side. But I know a lot of people can get really frustrated in the, like, my friend keeps going back to this person, like, nothing's changing. Nothing's changing. And remembering that we can say, like, hey, I'm so happy to talk to you about this, but everything that I have shared has really like not been taken into account. So I'm happy to talk to you about anything else, but I can't talk to you about this. It's too hard for me to watch, you know? But like, if you're ready to move forward, I'm here. I think that's an important thing too. And that might, you never know, that might be the thing that gets them to kind of recognize, like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I'm really hurting myself with this.
Yeah.
Well, this has been such a good conversation. I think like my biggest takeaway is something that you said earlier of like, a breakup isn't just like, or recovering from a breakup isn't just one big thing. It's an accumulation of all these little steps that we're taking. And I think that's really refreshing to hear, because sometimes if we're not progressing linearly, we get discouraged, or like you said, we can do trial and error, and maybe we do hit up someone or go on a date and realize it's not the right move. It's okay. It's not like we've totally backstepped. Like, I think that's really reassuring to know that like, it's all about like finding what works for you and like taking these little steps in any direction, and you can always course correct. I think the other takeaway I had from all of this too is like, how do we balance like thinking and feeling? Like, that was a theme that I feel like came up a lot, is like, we tend to intellectualize breakups a lot too, of like, this is the reason it happened, or I'm not worthy because this happened, or like, it will always be this way, and like, or this is my patterns, whatever it may be. And like, sometimes we just need to like feel, you said, be angry that just happened. Like, that's okay. That combo of both is really important. Like, how are you reflecting and learning, and not just, festering in our emotions, but also feeling and realizing that like, we can't intellectualize everything sometimes. Sometimes things are just the way they are.
Yeah. And thinking can sometimes be a big distraction from actually moving on.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say too on that is like, I always remind people there's no such thing as square one with a breakup.
Yeah.
I don't care if you get back together with your ex, it's still not square one.
Yep.
Like there's always progress that you have made. So just remembering like you're not at square one.
That was actually my biggest takeaway is what is this breakup revealing for me? How is it benefiting me? Instead of this happening to me, it's happening for me. And I really like this reminder that everything's temporary. This feeling of missing your ex is temporary. This heartbreak is temporary. Everything is temporary and everything will pass. So just knowing that you're in this river right now, and then this river will keep flowing.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Love talking to you guys.
Love talking to you. If people want to find out more about you and how you can become their breakup bestie, where can they go?
The best place is on Instagram. I'm at Your Breakup Bestie. And then I have the Heal Your Heartbreak podcast. Definitely listen to Julie and Yue's episode 2 if you haven't already.
Yes,
that comes out every Tuesday. And then my website's breakupbestie.com.
Love it. And we will link in the show notes.
Thank you so much, Kendra. And we're going to wrap up this episode.
Stay dateable.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.